A dying boy wrote The Rock a thank you letter. Days later, Dwayne showed up. What he did in that hospital changed millions of lives forever. Liam didn't look like a fighter, but he was one in every possible way. Just 12 years old, he had eyes that held both quiet wisdom and unspoken pain. The hospital bed had become his world, the ceiling tiles above him his sky. His small frame was thin from months of chemotherapy, yet his spirit never once gave in. Nurses often said he smiled more than most kids do on their best days, but only his mother, Emily, knew how much strength it took for him to lift those smiles. They had no wealth, no big support system, just each other. Emily was a single mother who gave up everything to sit beside her son, through every scan, every needle, every whisper from doctors she never wanted to hear. Some days she cried quietly in hospital bathrooms just so Liam wouldn't see. But Liam always knew. He'd gently squeeze her hand and say, "It's okay, Mom. I've got you." What kept him going wasn't hope for a cure. It was a hero. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Liam had watched every movie, memorized his speeches, and believed in every word. And when no one knew, he wrote the one letter that would change everything, without asking for a single thing in return. Liam didn't tell anyone when he started writing the letter. He had quietly asked a nurse for paper and a pen one evening when his mother had stepped out to grab a coffee. Sitting upright in bed, weak but determined, he wrote slowly, each word carefully chosen as if he didn't want to waste a single syllable. It wasn't a letter filled with wishes or pleas. Liam wasn't asking for gifts or even to meet his hero. He just wanted to say thank you. He wrote about how watching The Rock had helped him stay strong on the days the pain became unbearable, how his mom cried when she thought he was asleep, and how he'd tell jokes just to make her smile again. He told Dwayne that when he flexed his skinny arms in the mirror, he felt tough, even if only for a second. And in his final line, he wrote, "I don't know how much time I have left, but I wanted you to know that you made mine better." Emily found the letter the next morning, folded neatly beside Liam's action figure. She read it in silence, tears running down her cheeks. She didn't say a word, just held her son close, kissed his forehead, and promised him she'd send it. She used her last few dollars to buy an envelope and postage. She addressed it to Dwayne Johnson's agency, knowing the chances were next to none. Still, she mailed it that afternoon. They never talked about it again. Liam didn't wait by the door or check for a reply. He had done what he needed to do. He had said what he felt. But what he didn't know was that this one letter was already moving towards something far bigger than either of them could imagine. 2 weeks passed and the letter was quietly forgotten, at least by Liam. He had never written it expecting anything back. His energy had dropped and the chemo sessions were becoming harder to bear. Most days he barely stayed awake through an entire movie. But he still kept his little action figure of The Rock on the table by his bed, right next to a photo of him and his mom. One evening, a volunteer named Rachel came in during her shift. She wasn't a nurse or a doctor, just someone who brought in books, board games, and sometimes sat with kids whose parents needed a break. She'd seen Liam a few times before, always cheerful, always polite, but that night he seemed quieter than usual. As she helped tidy up his tray table, she noticed a crumpled draft of a letter sticking out from a notebook under his pillow. She paused, curious, and gently asked, "Mind if I take a peek?" Liam smiled faintly. "You can read it. I already sent the real one." Rachel read it slowly, and by the time she got to the end, her hands were trembling. She looked at Liam, who was already drifting off to sleep, his breathing light and shallow. She didn't know what to say. She just stood there for a moment holding back tears, then carefully slipped the draft back where it was. That night, sitting alone in the hospital lounge, Rachel couldn't shake the words from her mind. The letter wasn't just touching, it was something the world needed to see. She snapped a photo of the draft and posted it on her personal social media, using only Liam's first name and blurring out the sensitive parts. Her caption was simple: "This brave boy doesn't want gifts. He just wanted to say thank you to his hero. Let's help this reach Dwayne Johnson." She didn't expect much, maybe a few likes, a handful of shares. By morning, her phone was buzzing non-stop. Within 48 hours, the post had exploded. Thousands of people were resharing it, tagging The Rock in every comment. Celebrities, athletes, fans, all moved by one boy's quiet courage. And somewhere in Los Angeles, a message was about to land in the right hands and change everything. Dwayne Johnson was sitting in his office, halfway through a long day packed with meetings, interviews, and phone calls. His assistant, Jordan, walked in quietly, holding her phone. "You need to see this," she said, her voice softer than usual. Dwayne glanced up, distracted, then took the phone from her hands. It was a screenshot of a letter, written by a boy named Liam. A boy with terminal cancer. A boy who didn't ask for a visit or a gift or attention, just a thank you. As he read the lines, the room around him seemed to fade. He wasn't just reading a letter. He was hearing the voice of a child who had found strength in his words, in his movies, in his presence, even from a distance. The sentence that broke him came at the end. "I don't know how much time I have left, but I wanted you to know that you made mine better." Dwayne sat back in silence. For a moment he couldn't speak. He had met thousands of fans, seen countless tributes, but there was something different about this one. This wasn't about fame or admiration. This was about impact, about the life of a boy who had found light in the darkest of times. Without hesitation, he stood up. "Clear my afternoon," he told Jordan. "All of it." She looked at him. "What are you thinking?" "I'm going to see him. No cameras, no crew, just me." Calls were made. Arrangements were handled in total silence. Dwayne didn't want attention. He didn't want press. He wanted to be there as a man, not as a celebrity. A few hours later, he was on a private flight to the children's hospital, carrying a small duffel bag and a heart full of purpose. As the plane lifted off, Dwayne stared out the window, holding a printed copy of Liam's letter in his hands. He read it again, then folded it gently and placed it close to his chest. "Hang in there, little man," he whispered to himself. "I'm on my way." He had no idea what he'd say when he saw Liam, but deep down he knew it didn't matter. All that mattered was showing up, and that's exactly what he planned to do. The hospital room was quiet. Liam lay in bed, thinner than before, his skin pale, his breathing slower. Emily sat beside him, holding his hand, brushing his hair gently with her fingers. The nurses had lowered the lights to help him rest. A soft hum of machines filled the air, a sound she had grown too used to. There was a light knock at the door. Emily assumed it was a nurse with medications. She stood up and opened it without thinking, but when she looked up, her mouth fell open. Standing there, tall, familiar, unmistakable, was Dwayne Johnson, dressed in jeans, a plain hoodie, and holding a small black duffel bag. No cameras, no noise, just him. Emily couldn't speak. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears rushing to her eyes. You're really here," she whispered. Dwayne gave her a soft smile. "Is Liam awake?" She nodded, still in shock, stepping aside as he quietly entered the room. Liam stirred at the sound of the door. He opened his eyes slowly, adjusting to the dim light. When he saw who was standing at the foot of his bed, he froze. For a few seconds, he didn't say a word. Then came the faintest whisper. "The Rock?" Dwayne smiled and walked closer, sitting down on the chair beside him. "Hey, champ, I heard there's a kid here who's stronger than me. I had to come see for myself." Liam blinked, trying to process it. His small hands trembled as he reached out to touch Dwayne's arm, as if checking if he was real. "You came?" "I did," Dwayne said, gently placing his hand over Liam's. I read your letter, every word of it, and it meant more to me than anything I've read in years. Emily stepped back, watching from the corner of the room, tears silently falling down her cheeks. For the first time in weeks, she saw something return to her son's face, a flicker of life, of joy, of awe. I did, Dwayne said, gently placing his hand over Liam's. I read your letter, every word of it, and it meant more to me than anything I've read in years. Emily stepped back, watching from the corner of the room, tears silently falling down her cheeks. For the first time in weeks, she saw something return to her son's face, a flicker of life, of joy, of awe. They talked for over an hour. Dwayne didn't rush. He asked Liam about his favorite movies, his favorite wrestlers, what made him laugh, what kept him strong. Liam told him how he would flex in the mirror and call himself the little boulder. That made Dwayne laugh, an honest, full laugh that made the whole room feel lighter. Then Dwayne opened his duffel bag. I brought you something, he said. Inside was a custom-made action figure, but this wasn't just any toy. It was Liam, sculpted as a superhero, muscles, cape, even a little eyebrow raised just like the Rock's. On the chest, in bold letters, it said, Liam the Brave. Liam's eyes widened. His mouth fell open. He clutched it like it was made of gold. Is this really me? All you, kid, Dwayne said softly, because heroes like you deserve to be remembered, not just by me, but by the whole world. Liam couldn't stop staring at the figure. He held it tight, as if drawing strength from it. That night, for the first time in a long time, he slept with a smile on his face. His hero sitting beside him, guarding his dreams. The days that followed Dwayne's visit felt different, like a shift in the air. Liam's body was still weak, the treatment still harsh, but his spirit had come alive. The nurses noticed it. So did the doctors. Even with the pain, Liam smiled more. He held onto his superhero figure everywhere he went, proudly showing it to anyone who came near his bed. The Rock made this for me, he would whisper, his voice light but full of pride. Dwayne hadn't just left a gift behind. He had left a memory strong enough to carry Liam through the hardest days. What no one expected, though, was what happened after Dwayne posted a short video. It wasn't flashy or rehearsed, just Dwayne holding up Liam's figure and telling the world about a brave boy he had just met. This is Liam the Brave, he said. He reminded me what real strength looks like. He's my hero now. That one video spread everywhere. News stations picked it up. Celebrities reposted it. Messages flooded in from people all over the world. Kids in hospitals, parents, strangers, all sending love and prayers to a boy they'd never met. The hospital printed out hundreds of these messages and taped them across the walls of Liam's room. It looked like a shrine of love. Emily sat beside him each day, holding his hand, reading the kind words aloud. Some made Liam laugh. Others made him close his eyes and just listen quietly. One night she noticed him staring at the ceiling, lost in thought. "What's on your mind, baby?" she asked softly. Liam turned to her and gave a small smile. "I think I can rest now, Mom. He knows me. The Rock. He knows me." Her heart broke and swelled at the same time. Liam's breathing became slower in the days that followed. His strength faded quietly, but never his peace. And though no one said it out loud, everyone felt it. He was getting ready to let go. But there was no fear in him, just calm, as if he had already done everything he needed to. He had laughed with his hero. He had been seen. He had been loved. And in those final days, he wasn't just a boy fighting cancer. He was Liam the Brave. Liam passed away on a quiet Sunday morning. The hospital room was still, the machines silent, the light outside soft and golden. Emily sat by his side, holding his hand until the very end. He left peacefully, the superhero figure still tucked under his arm. There were no last words, no dramatic moments, just the calm release of a soul that had touched so many in such a short time. News of his passing spread quickly. The hospital staff, who had grown to love him like family, held a small memorial. Nurses and doctors left handwritten notes around his bed. His story, once just a private moment between a boy and his hero, had become something far bigger. That same day, Dwayne posted a photo of Liam holding his custom superhero figure. The caption was simple but powerful. He didn't ask to be seen, but he showed the world what real courage looks like. Rest easy, Liam the Brave. It broke hearts across the world. But Dwayne didn't stop there. Days later, he announced the launch of the Liam the Brave initiative, a program dedicated to supporting terminally ill children, helping families in crisis, and funding pediatric cancer research. He pledged to match every donation made in Liam's name. The response was overwhelming. Emily watched all of this unfold from her small kitchen table, still in shock. Her son was gone, but his name was everywhere, not because of his illness, but because of his strength, because one letter, written with love and no expectations, had touched a man who decided to carry that light forward. Liam didn't just leave behind memories, he left behind a movement, a reminder that even the smallest voices can echo across the world when someone chooses to listen. Emily often sat alone in Liam's room, surrounded by quiet reminders of the boy who once filled it with laughter and dreams. The walls still held his drawings, the action figure from Dwayne still stood proudly on the nightstand, and his tiny superhero cape, stitched lovingly by a nurse, hung behind the door. Everything felt frozen in time, yet the world outside hadn't stopped. It had moved loudly and lovingly in Liam's name. What began as a quiet thank you had grown into something powerful. One boy's letter, filled with nothing but love and gratitude, reached someone willing to listen and willing to act. Dwayne didn't just show up for a visit. He carried Liam's voice into places it never would have reached on its own. He helped turn a fading life into an everlasting story of strength, kindness, and purpose. And perhaps that's the lesson Liam left behind. It's not about how long we live, but how deeply we are felt. A single letter, a single act of kindness. That's all it took to change everything. Liam's body may be gone, but his light still lives. In every child helped, in every tear wiped, in every heart moved. Because heroes like him never really leave. They live on in the lives they touch. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more true stories that matter. And before you go, make sure to watch the videos appearing on your screen, because each one carries a message you'll never forget.